Okay, what's up, guys? How's everyone doing? Good. All right, I'm 99.9% of you guys know me, but I'm just going to do a quick introduction for the camera, okay? And then talk a little briefly about what the seminar is going to entail, what we're going to go over today, and everything that comes along with it, okay? So my name is Mike Gigliotti, owner-operator, Intoxx Fitness, and NASA Master Level Trainer, okay? I've been doing this about 25 years, and I feel like my specialty is to help people connect the dots in terms of being the best lifter that they can be. I found like one of my greatest strengths over the last many years of training is really helping people understand motion. Because what happens is generally speaking, people just kind of come in and do a lot of the same stuff and just go through motions. They don't really take it to that next level. So today's about really kind of like the expression peeling the onion back. And we're going to really break down layers and really try to dig a little bit deeper into lifting and helping you guys understand how to be a better lifter. In turn, will make you a better bodybuilder, and in turn will just make you more successful in terms of building muscle, getting results, and just overall success in what you guys are trying to do, okay? A lot of the topics that we're going to go over and a lot of the terms that we're going to discuss kind of like bounce off each other a little bit. So there's going to be times I'm going to be bringing something up and I may go back into that a little bit deeper at a later time, and there's going to be things like that kind of like mirror each other, and it may sound repetitive at times, but just remember this sport, there's no secrets, there's no surprises. It's just understanding at this point. Okay, so that's what we're here to do today. I wanted to keep this class as small as possible. 15 was the goal, and we achieved that because I want it to be as interactive as possible. I want you guys to participate when you have a question. And, you know, I put in 30 minutes Q&A on the back end, but feel free, if you're really confused on something or you have a question about something specific, you can ask me at that point in time and we can discuss it, okay? I gave you guys basically a guideline to kind of stay with me in terms of how we're going to lay this out and how I think it's going to be structured and the best way to go about it. On the back end of this, we're going to break down some exercises and help you understand like certain moves. If there is a specific, I wrote 5 moves that I feel I can give you the most benefit to, but if you guys have a specific one, I'll do my best to assist you and go over that with you guys. Okay, so with that, we're going to get started. And number 1, okay, the foundation of bodybuilding. Okay, so where we're going to start is the simplest and easiest thing, okay? The simplest and easiest thing is the goal, okay? And the funny thing is I did a post about this on Instagram the other day, is I'm in the gym about 12 hours a day, and literally everyone I speak with changes their mind like they're deciding on what to have for dinner each night. They don't understand that this is a process. And like anything else in life, in order to be successful at it, you got to kind of channel your energy into one aspect and then get better at it and then go to the next level. There's a reason why classes in school are 3 months long, 4 months long, 6 months long. There's a process. The same thing applies here. You have to essentially allow the goal to take its course, to run its course and actually allow it to happen. And, you know, I'm going to use myself a lot as an example because I can make fun of myself without insulting anyone, and it's no problem. If you relate to me, great. If you don't, no big deal. But I'll take my younger self, and, you know, the reality is one day I would come in and I'd be like, oh man, I'm like swimming in my shirt. This isn't good. I'm like, I feel really small. I feel really thin. And, oh, screw it. I'm going to eat. Today's the day I'm eating. I said I wanted to be lean, but no, I can't do it. Lean is, no, this is not for me. It's not going to work. And I'd stuff my face that night, maybe even do it again. Then let's go. A day goes by, 2 days go by. Mike has squirrel cheeks. Mike looks bloated. He looks funny, indigestion, stomach's killing me. And I look good in my shirt, but then when I take my shirt off, my stomach's extended and I'm bloated, and I basically just wasted 2 weeks of dieting. okay, because it just didn't allow the process to take place. And that's basically, it was just inexperience, immaturity, and just not allowing the process to take its course and trust it. So ultimately, without beating a dead horse, whatever the goal may be, okay, whatever the goal, you have to write it down on paper, put it someplace where you're going to remember it, and actually give it a minimum. In my opinion, it really depends upon the goal, but you have to give it at least 6 months to take its course. And what I find to be most helpful and most successful for me is I go small goals, like micro goals, and I go bigger goals, like macro goals, and I just break it down that way. And the reason why I do that is because it allows me to taste a little bit of reward as I'm going through the process. So, for example, I got my pro card in 2018, and I easily could have gotten on stage 2019, 2020, 2021, and I would have got my ass handed to me. Now, granted, I didn't do very well in my placing in the current show that I just did, but the reality is I added 20 pounds of muscle tissue over 4 years because I had small goals. And I knew in the back of my mind that there was a goal, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. And that was one day step on a pro stage and give myself that opportunity to showcase what I feel was going to be best. And over those 4 years, there was times I didn't look good. I didn't like the way I looked, but I understood the process. So I just want you guys to understand that all it takes is sticking to your goals, and you'll find so much more success in that. Okay. Allowing it to take its course. Okay. Now we move into game plan. Okay. Now this is something where it's funny because Instagram makes this very difficult, right? Because there's a million of me out there. Some are more educated. Some are less educated. Some have bigger followings. Some have less followings. And then we're simply just following workouts. Why? Because we like that person's stuff, or it looks cool, or Chris Bumstead is my favorite bodybuilder, so I have to do what he's doing. Or, I don't know, a girl that's popular, but a girl that's popular and, she's doing this booty stuff, so I have to do this booty stuff. But what you guys have to realize is, you're only seeing what they're posting. You're not seeing the entire plan. Okay, so whether it's you buying a program at your local gym from your local trainer, or it's investing in someone online that you trust and has actual credentials and actual credibility, I say invest. Invest in yourself. Okay, you guys are here. This is a great opportunity to learn, and continue doing so. Whether it's me or someone else, you have to find a person you can connect with and build a game plan with. Because when you have that on paper, there's going to be days you're not feeling it. There's going to be days you don't want to do it right. And there's days where you're just like, oh, I'll just try something different. And the problem is with a proper game plan and with someone who knows what they're doing, there's a method to the madness. And you have to allow the game plan to take its course, which will eventually lead to the goal. Okay, so have a game plan in place, stick to it, and don't bounce around. Because the guys who tend to bounce around are the guys who are standing in the same exact spot 3 months from now and 6 months from now, and they're getting no results at all. Okay, so give it time, allow it to take its course. Okay. We're going to go over some topics in terms of what I find to be most important. Then we're going to really dig deep into the training aspect. So the next thing is sleep, okay? And it's just real quick. I just wanted to touch upon this because, the shirts are out, train insane, remain the same, I'll sleep when I die, all this nonsense where, no rest days and screw that, I'm training every day, 7 days a week, or you're in the gym 2 hours a day. And essentially, sleep is one of the most underrated aspects of a bodybuilder, or any athlete for that matter. So you just have to make sure you're investing in getting a good night's sleep, getting rest, and actually allowing your body to kind of relax, break down, and then reset. Because the most important thing with sleep is resetting your hormones. And I find that with a lot of my nutrition clients, we always dig deep into certain aspects of when they're not getting results. And when they're not getting results, we go over the basics. Are you following the plan? Are you training? Are you cheating? Are you doing this? What's going on? And then sure enough, after I dig deep enough, I realize sometimes the simplest thing is just, well, I'm stressed out and I'm not sleeping. So we're going to get into stress in a bit, but you know, sleeping is very important. And I understand everyone's lifestyle is different, but it just simply comes down to what you prioritize and what you value. Okay, so definitely prioritize that. I would say about 6 hours a day is ideal. Okay, if you could. It helps with protein synthesis and allows you to mentally recharge as well for your next training session, which is really important. And to touch upon sleep briefly, just keep in mind, I can dive deep into nutrition and we can be here for hours and weeks. And I'm going to briefly talk about it. But one of the aspects of sleep you want to keep in mind is unless you're doing an intermittent fast or you're doing a fast, which I don't want to get into and talk about, but unless you're doing that specifically, I highly recommend you schedule your meals within an hour before bed, maybe 2, okay? And then an hour upon wake up. Okay, because as a bodybuilder and as someone who's looking to grow and build muscle tissue, whatever the goal may be, it's very important that you maintain your protein levels throughout the day to have a positive nitrogen balance, okay? And if you're confused on that, I can talk about that, you know, in private, but that's basically what I wanted to touch on as far as that goes. Okay, now the lifestyle itself. Do you really want to improve? I mean, it's like, a guy came over to me just now, he saw me lifting, oh man, you look great, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can look great too. What's stopping you? And essentially this guy is very successful at what he's doing right now. It's not like he looks good, he looks, you know, whatever, but what he's doing in his world, he's very successful at. And I told him it's just a matter of channeling energy and where your focus is going and what matters most to you. So, I mean, if you guys truly love this lifestyle and you truly want to be a better lifter, every single one of your goals is attainable. It's just actually dialing into that aspect of this is what matters more to me. Okay, because there's going to be times where you're going to have to make sacrifices and you're going to have to decide what's more important. Okay, now, years ago when I was 20 and inexperienced and didn't know what was going on, I probably made too many sacrifices because I couldn't miss a meal or I was afraid to do this, and I didn't understand that it doesn't have to be that intense all the time. It can be intense at certain points in the time if you're prepping for a show, or if you got something going on that you want to look your best for, you know, or you're training for a competition, or, you know, it doesn't even have to be bodybuilding, even a photo shoot. Okay, I'm going to dial it in a little bit more. But for the most part, embracing the lifestyle isn't about shutting down the world completely. It's just about knowing when and how to make certain sacrifices in terms of what you guys prioritize. So as a person like myself who loves lifting, okay, let's take sports for example. Over the last however many years, every single year, some guy will say, Mike, you want to do flag football? Mike, you want to do touch tackle? Mike, you want to do a softball team? You want to do bowling? And every single time I chose, what do I value more? What do I value more? And that's simply because you hear about every single year, there's always one of your buddies getting hurt on the softball field, on the football field, you know, even freak bowling accent. I separated my AC joint mountain biking, which is something it's one of my other hobbies that I do love, but that set me back for 3 months. Now I was still able to do certain things and I found a way, but it certainly hindered my training. And I said to myself, this was a sacrifice. I had to make a choice. What do I value more? And nothing makes me feel better than working out in terms of my personal hobbies and what I enjoy. So choosing those things is going to be something that's very important for yourself, and deciding if you truly want to embrace this lifestyle, making sacrifices from time to time, okay? Okay, mindset, positive attitude, okay? Now, there's a difference between, people confuse me sometimes when they don't know me because I'm very intense, I'm very serious, but the reality is I just consider myself very real. I'm positive, but I'm just real. I'm negative as well. because I'm always, I tell people all the time, I'm hard on myself, so I'm going to be hard on my family, I'm going to be hard on my clients, I'm going to be hard on my friends. I'm going to speak with honesty, I'm going to speak with truth. If you want me to evaluate your build, I may say some things that may not be you're happy with, but the reality is I'm giving you advice to make you a better bodybuilder, a better lifter, a better overall gym goer, okay? And same thing goes for my female clients. I try to do my best to keep it real. But at the same time, you have to understand the light at the end of the tunnel. And there's no reason why when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and I'm going back to the mindset, when I look at myself in my mirror, I am breaking it down piece by piece. Like, this sucks, this got better, this needs to improve, got to work on this. I am going piece by piece. But I would also take a step back and say, well, shit, that got better. I'm actually doing pretty good here. And then I have progress pictures. Now, I recommend them no matter if you're training for a show or if you're not and you're just doing this for shits and giggles and whatever it may be. And progress pictures, to some people who aren't in this sport, in this world, may see it as vain, or may see it as conceited, or may see it as, something ridiculous. But the reality is looking at this, everyone in this room, not any of us are obese to the point where our only gauge is going to be the scale. We can't look at our results and say, okay, I'm never going to get on the scale and say, I lost 20 pounds in a month, I'm doing great. It just doesn't happen. I don't have that build. I don't have that look. How do I gauge progress? It can't always be in my lifts. I can't always be making progressions weight-wise. You hit walls. So progress pictures are a helpful way to keep you focused, keep your mindset going, and keep you in the right direction, while at the same time assessing your look and assessing your body and assessing where you want to go. Okay, so I recommend that to you guys, and just obviously keeping it positive, tracking yourself, good energy at all times, but at the same time keeping it real. It's not hating, it's reality. We all need to improve. Every single one of us, even the best bodybuilder in the world, Phil Heath, will have a weakness. He will have a weakness and you ask him, he'll tell you, I need to improve. And there's a reason why he's the best in the world, because he accepts that. And any single person who's successful at what they do never settles. So understand that aspect when you're going into this. And this world is very unforgiving. The sport is very frustrating at times. So keeping it positive and keeping in good spirits is very important. Okay, stress. Okay, quick show of hands, just curious. How many people tend to feel stressed out? Okay, that was pretty much the majority of the room. And my point to that is we all have levels of it, okay? Whether it's some of you may have children and they're driving you crazy, or some of you are in school and you're afraid of failing your classes, or day-to-day work, or you have an hour-and-a-half commute traffic, and whatever it might be, okay? We all have different levels of stress. So the answer is you can't avoid it. The answer is managing it. And one of my strengths I feel I've worked on over the years and improved upon is channeling my stress and finding a way to control it. Because if cortisol raises in your body too much, okay, you essentially are going to break down an exorbitant amount of muscle tissue. You're going to retain water, okay, and you're also going to develop more fat deposits. It's 100% fact. This is not opinion. This is not just me going off a picture in the mirror of how I look. This is science. This is written down. This is if you're lifting or not lifting. So it's managing it and finding your zen and finding your place and understanding how to control it, okay? Me personally, there's a couple of things that I choose to do. And the first thing I always do when I get a little overwhelmed with something is I just simply take a step back. I always focus on what I can control. Okay? If I take the competition at hand, someone would say to me, oh, you're not worried about that guy on stage? Like, he's really big. He looks great. He won this show. He won that show. Can't control it. I can't control who shows up to the stage. What I can control is how I show up to the stage. I can control how I'm going to look. I'm going to control whether or not I'm going to be my best. Can I control traffic? No. But what I can do is I can make sure that if there's traffic, I have literally 6 meals with me at all times if I'm going on a trip. If I'm not, I say to myself, okay, it's going to take me potentially 2 hours to get someplace. If there is traffic, that's 3 hours. 3 hours back, I need to eat here, I need to eat here. I know this sounds crazy, guys, but this is what I do. And this is how success is built. And I'll take 2 to 3 meals with me. And I bring my water. And I make sure that I have, every time before I leave the house, I make sure that I went to the bathroom, and I make sure that before I leave the place I'm at, I go to the bathroom. And you say, well, you're crazy, you're nuts. And I just simply see it as there's just no other way, because I want to be successful. I don't want a reason to fail. In my prep, there was not one time where I can say, well, shit, this was my fault. I messed up. I covered every angle. It doesn't always go that smooth, I get it. And it's not me being conceited or vain, like, oh, I did a perfect prep. No, I'm just trying to give you guys examples that it can be done when you plan. When you plan ahead, that simple quote, those who fail to plan to fail, okay? It is so important just to kind of think 2 steps ahead of what you want to do in terms of lifting. This all goes back to lifting and being a better bodybuilder and being a better, because we can only do so much in the gym. I'm going to show you a boatload of stuff today, but at the end of the day, if you're stressed out all day, you're getting no results at all, because you're literally just killing all your gains by being stressed. So try to manage it, try to control it, try to be ahead of the curve, and try to make good decisions, okay? Okay, routine. Whew, this one's, this just goes kind of back to what I was just saying, okay? But I try to tell people with this world, this is the only sport where it's like, you could take a few months off and just come back. Like baseball, these guys like take a few months off, they're not doing anything. Football, every single sport. Bodybuilding, powerlifting, you don't have that. You just don't. This is an everyday grind. It, for some people, can be overwhelming, and to them may suck. Because we love it and because we enjoy it, we see no other way, and it's like, well, this is normal to me, I love it. But just understand, this is the routine. 4 or 5 days a week, couple of days off a week, and getting in here and executing the game plan. Routine with your diet, routine with your training, routine with your cardio, routine with your going to the supermarket, routine with everything that comes along with it, the stretching, whatever it takes to be better. It is a day in, day out, repetitive grind. And that's why I go back to now taking pictures, because there are going to be times when you're like, I'm not getting any results. This is pointless. And most of my clients who not quit, but things come up and they take a break, they always say the same thing to me when they come back. I can't believe, the hardest thing to do is maintain where you're at. And they don't realize that it's always not about taking 2 steps forward. Sometimes it's simply just not taking 2 steps back. Because one of my clients just stopped training. She was coming 3 times a week, every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, without fail, didn't miss a beat. And life, got in the way, stress went up a little bit, had to pull back on training. And I told her, I said, no problem, you can't train, I get it. But please get here on your own. Please, we've come so far. 2 years of training, we've done so much. You don't need me at this point, just get here. She stopped altogether, quit the gym, never came back. And then sure enough, it's like, wow, a completely different person. And she's like, I didn't realize, because she really didn't diet. She didn't put the effort into dieting. But just getting here 3 days a week, her routine made her maintain where she was. And that maintenance was great for her. She was happy how she looked. She had good energy. She felt great. So it's important to understand that aspect of routine and just sticking to it, because sometimes it's not realizing that keeping up with it is one of the hardest things to do. Okay? I always tell people, making sure cardio-wise, just briefly going upon it, whether you're looking to get big or you're looking to lose weight, cardio should be in your routine. For your mental health, for your heart health. It's important to realize that, no matter what age you're at, simple walks, which is something I am doing lately, which I really enjoy, or getting on a piece of cardio equipment, you cannot lose muscle tissue. The only way you can lose muscle tissue is legitimately if you are starving yourself, and then at the same time you are doing an exorbitant amount of cardio. And some of my clients in the past were doing that and actually seeing way less results. So as far as cardio goes, just from a heart health standpoint and the longevity of the sport and just being smart, keep your cardio in. How old are you? 16, right? So like most people say, oh, you don't need to do cardio, you're so young, right? But at the end of the day, you know, heart health is just very important. So, and it's a good habit to build. So it may not be your priority. Maybe your priority is to build muscle and get big. But you'll find that if you are doing your cardio, you'll help burn a little bit of body fat, and then the muscles appear bigger. So from that standpoint, it's twofold. It's two benefits, you know, and the same thing for you. And I know you like to do your competitions and you're young, but at the same time, there's got to be a place for it, because there were times when I was younger, I didn't do it at all, and I noticed a significant difference. So just, you know, 3-4 days a week, I'm just giving you guys some brief tips, you know, that will be helpful. Okay. I just want to touch upon diet real quick. And the one thing I want to say with diet is right now there is 1,000,001 diets out there. And about 90% of them drive me crazy, okay, because everyone forgets the simplest aspect of nutrition. And the simplest aspect of nutrition is adherence. If you can simply find a lifestyle diet that works for you, no matter what it is, that will give you the most success, okay? So I prefer a balance of carbs, fats, and proteins. I don't care if you're doing keto. If you hate carbs and you hate that everything that comes with it, and keto is all for you, more power to you. I disagree with what it offers in terms of the health aspect, but that's just my opinion. There's benefits to it, and I understand that, okay? But adherence. Don't put yourself into a hole and force yourself into a corner, because this world, there's 100 ways to skin a cat. So don't say, in order for me to lose weight, I have to do keto or I have to intermittent fast. No, carbs are not scary, and they are definitely helpful, and they have their benefit. Just find a plan that works for you. Trial and error. And going back, like I said, give it 3 or 6 months. Actually allow it to take its course and see how it goes. Okay, some general supplements I recommend. Okay, these are the bare basics, and it's just kind of like from a lifting standpoint. Whey protein should just always be in the house, because it goes back to planning ahead and being prepared. And there's times when you run out of chicken, there's times where you can't get to the supermarket, there's times where there's no food in the house, whatever it might be, and just simply having whey protein is one of the most useful tools as a supplement that you can utilize for your diet, okay? Multivitamin, multi-mineral, very basic, okay? There are benefits to it. I mean, I take a boatload of supplements, and if you want what I'm doing, we can talk after the class, but everything I'm doing is for a purpose, and my lifestyle tells me I need to do these things. Not everyone needs to take, you know, as many supplements. So again, I'm giving you the basics. Creatine. This is very misleading, because it depends upon the time of year. You ask a person about it, and it also depends on what's being pushed in the industry. But I can tell you with 100% fact, creatine does not bloat you, does not make you hold water, it does not make you look fat. Respectfully, you're fat without the creatine, and you just are not in shape. And I'm sorry, but this goes back to what I just said in tough love, and this is me being real. You know, creatine is something that you can have all year long, okay? And the serving size really depends on, I would do your own research and find what's comfortable for you. You know, there's 5 grams, there's 10 grams. I wouldn't go past 10, but each person has their own dependent upon what they do, okay? But it is very useful in terms of building muscle, okay? And keeping the muscle full and strong and endurance for your next workout. And that's something that's extremely important. So creatine should essentially be in your diet, men and women. And then one of the ones that kind of gets overlooked is glutamine. Glutamine is really helpful for protein synthesis, okay, because it's a free form. 60% of free-form amino acids circulating in the muscles are glutamine. So what will happen is other tissues are going to basically say, like, I need that glutamine, and they're going to take it from the muscles, and then your body then obviously has a negative effect to the muscle tissue. So adding it in as a supplement is very beneficial because it helps maintain muscle tissue. And in addition to that, they've shown a lot of added benefits in that it helps with digestion. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. That's very important. Again, it goes back to serving size, really what you like and what you want. I would do your own research on that and decide what you're comfortable. And if you're working with a coach or a nutritionist, you can ask them. Okay, and then lastly is the plethora of gut health, which has been over the last 4 or 5 years something that I've been a huge advocate on. And I'm a big fan of a greens product that I take for Project AD. It's a Graze product, has all my essential amino acids in it. I take it first thing in the morning. All my clients that I put it on to, they absolutely love the routine that I give them for the morning, and they feel great. And then there's other gut health products that I recommend. So again, if you have like personal stuff going on, you want to ask me about it after the class, that's fine. But if you are not digesting your food properly, that is a big problem in terms of being a better lifter, okay, and being a better bodybuilder. So gas, bloating, indigestion, burping, whatever it might be, all those aspects of nutrition, if you're experiencing them, you have to improve your gut health, okay? So I can give you some supplements. Unfortunately, gut health is expensive, but you only are what you're absorbing. So you could be taking in 300 grams of protein, but if you're, not to be gross, but if you're farting all the time and you're gassy and indigestion and you got cramps and your bathroom visits are irregular and not where they're supposed to be, it doesn't matter how much protein you're taking in, how much carbs, how much fats. Your body's not utilizing the way it's supposed to. It's not shuttling the way it's supposed to by going to the muscle, and you're essentially just counterproductive in that aspect. Okay? Now we're going to touch into the big stuff, okay? Why we're here today specifically, and we're going to get into training, okay? Excuse me 1 second. All right. So having a plan, obviously, is key, okay? Like I said, we're not following TikTok, we're not following Instagram, and we're not following all the BS workouts on there. Foundationally speaking, I believe it starts with the basics, okay? There is a time and a place for the Instagram workouts and the TikTok workouts and a cool new exercise you might see, but those are not going to help you just basically become a better lifter and get better at what you're trying to do. So where does training essentially start? We join the gym and it's day 1 for us or month 1 for us, and this is where the problem lies. Your buddy says, oh, come to the gym with me and I'll help you out. Okay, great. Now there's probably a 20% chance, I would say on average, based upon what I see, that that person knows enough to actually help you properly and show you correct form. Form is the foundation of training, okay? It all starts with form. If you're doing the exercise wrong out of the gate, you are essentially going to be set back for years to come. Not only from an injury aspect, from an aspect of just connecting dots better, and we're going to talk about mind muscle connection and stuff like that, and then just as far as just breaking bad habits. That expression goes, it takes like 500 times to build a habit, and it takes 5,000 to 10,000 times to break a habit. And I find that when I'm training new clients for the first time, or when they first start with me and they have experience, it's amazing that they've been doing something wrong for so long, and they didn't get hurt. The body will adapt. That's the shitty part. Like, the shitty part is the body will actually say, okay, even though he's doing this wrong, I have to protect him, so I'm going to develop a compensation to allow this to take its course. Now, some of us kind of skate by and we get lucky and it never becomes something really bad. But then there's other parts of it where we get injured, we get strains, we get inflammation, and we get no results. So it starts with form. You have to understand that form essentially is the foundation of being a better lifter and being a better bodybuilder. Okay? Ego stays at the door. Okay? I always preach that on my social media. Ego is something that you need to learn to keep in check and you need to kind of monitor. Okay? Because essentially the weight will always come. Okay? So bench pressing, right? I will say, now it all depends upon the goal. There's a lot of ways to bench press and we'll talk about that. But a lot of guys, from what I see over the last 20 years, based upon their goal, are bench pressing wrong. Okay? Now it really depends upon the goal. If you say, Mike, I want to be strong, there is a way to do it. If you say I want a big chest, well, that's a completely different way. And that is funny because that what everyone says, oh, Mike, you got a huge chest. How'd you do that? Well, I want that Arnold chest. Look at that picture. Arnold Schwarzenegger. He looks amazing. He's got that full round chest. How do you get it? And then I see everyone benching like a power lifter and everyone benching with their shoulders and benching with their back and benching with every other body part but their actual chest. Okay? Why? Because their buddy in high school said, throw plates on the bar. So it happened to me, quick little story, 15 years old. I went to Faro. I was 115 pounds, actually no, 13 or 14 years old. And I went to Faro, so I lived in Newdorp. I walked up the street. I joined the gym. I had to go to the football. I joined freshman football and they said, okay, you have to go to the gym and you got to meet the coaches there. I said, okay. So I walked up the street, and you're very blessed, by the way, because our gym sucked when we were young. It was literally a bench and a squat rack, okay? I've seen Farrell's gym. I've seen C's gym. It's insane. So you guys are very, very lucky. But I walk in, and there's some monsters there. I mean, I'm 5'4", 115 pounds, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, this is wild. So scared to death, not knowing what's going on. My first day, okay? Never worked out before in a gym. Did some stuff that my father showed me at home. And I guess he was the coach, I don't know. He goes, all right, get under the bench. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, get under, I need to see what you can do. He put plates on the thing. And he goes, let me see how many you can get. And I said, well, I don't even know if I'm doing it right. He goes, well, I'll watch you. I'll make sure. Okay. I did a few reps. Sure enough, it didn't go very well. I probably got one, if maybe two. And then he said, do the same thing with squats. Put weight on the squat. And I don't know how I didn't get hurt. But something, luckily enough, deductive reasoning, and I had enough brain power to say, something doesn't feel right. Something was way wrong. And then I said, that was it. I quit the team. And I joined a gym on Highland Boulevard called Intoxx Fitness. And luckily, I just linked up with a guy who had enough understanding of what to do, and then the rest is history. I just started following someone who actually had a good concept of what to do. But that's the story for most kids. They're being misled out of the gate, and form isn't what's taught. Now, maybe more so than ever, because there's more strength and there's more strength coaches now and conditioning coaches, which is good. But it's all about how much weight they can lift at that age. And they're building bad patterns right out of the gate. So please, start with form, and then you will always gravitate to strength as you go. Okay? And with that, it's going to kind of bring us into overtraining really quick. Okay? So now, overtraining, okay, is something that goes back to the sleep thing and what's cool and what's not, right? So a lot of times I see guys in here who have bad nutritional diets. They're certainly not getting in enough protein. They're not getting in enough carbs. They're not getting enough sleep. They're not getting enough rest. And they're here 7 days a week. They're here 2 hours a day. And I ask them, how many sets do you do for your chest? How many sets you do for your shoulders? Oh, 20 sets for my chest, 25 sets for my back, and this, and 16 sets for my arms, and 20 sets for my arms. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, that's crazy. Because they'll ask me, oh, what do you do for your arms? Now, everyone forgets, I'm 42. I've been doing this 25 years. You're 15. This is going to take time. I don't work like that at 15. I don't work like this at 20. It just takes time. It's a process. But I'll tell you one thing. I know what's too much and what's not too much, and you have to find a balance. So I tell them, I'm like, it's the expression that I take with me everywhere I go and with everything I do. Quality over quantity. What are you doing and how are you doing it? Because 25 sets for back just tells me you don't know what the hell's going on and you're just kind of going through the motions. Now, by essentially just stupid math, yeah, you're burning calories and okay, that's a good thing, but you're not building muscle tissue. You're not gonna build the body that you're looking for because you're certainly not connecting dots. If you're able to do 25 sets for back, that basically means the first 24 sets were wrong. And that's all it comes down to. So we have a plan in place. If that coach is good and that trainer is good who gave you that plan, there should never be that many exercises. There should never be that many sets. There shouldn't be too many reps. It should be a balance. It should be a structure. And it should, when done correctly, be more than enough. We're not chasing pumps. Now, some of you are too young to understand that in terms of alcohol, okay? But what I mean by that is there's that buzz, right? Whenever we would drink and we're looking for that perfect buzz and understanding like, I feel good. And then what does your asshole friend always do? Have one more. And that's the guy who blacks out, and that's the guy you have to babysit for, and that's the guy who you have to take care of the rest of the night. And that guy isn't getting results, right? Same thing with the gym. When you're chasing the pump and you're chasing a feeling, okay, it is absolutely gonna hit you down a dead end road, okay? Because there's times when I'm in the gym and I'm about an hour in and I feel great. I'm like, I got way more in the tank. I want to keep going. But I listen to my body. Today's program was this. This is what's on the game plan. Well, shame on me. Maybe if I have that much more in the tank, maybe I didn't push myself enough. Maybe I'll do one more set, but that will be it. That's all that is a lesson learned for my next workout. It's not about me always just trying to chase something that I didn't achieve. You have a window. That window is to maximize a workout, okay? If you're not maximizing your window, shame on you. Next time around, be better. Next time around, quality over quantity. Next time around, make that workout count. Don't just say, I'll spend another half hour in the gym, no big deal, I'll do more. That's not the answer. Once a week, once in a blue moon, okay, no problem. You haven't seen your buddy in a long time and he comes down, you guys are working out together, you do a few extra things, okay, not the end of the world. But you're building bad habits. And if you're building bad habits long term, this is gonna, pigeon nose you, whatever the expression is, and you're gonna end up just kind of not getting results, okay? So from an overtraining aspect, understand how counterproductive that can be, okay? Now let's get into, let's talk a little bit about work sets real quick, okay? So we're getting into understanding when you approach your workout, okay, there's, me for example, what I like to do with myself and my clients is there's a routine. My clients know in a perfect world, I want you 15 minutes early, and I want you going through your stretch protocol, ideally without me, okay? Your time is valuable, your money is valuable, you want an hour of me training you, and the stretching you can do on your own after it's taught properly, okay? But it's like warming up the car and preparing the car and getting it ready, in the winter. You want to make sure for that hour, you're 100% ready to go, okay? So with that, okay, I have my routine, and I'll get into the stretches, okay, in a little bit on the back end, but I do my stretches, and then I get over to the bar. And let's just take a bench press, for example, okay? And Maddie, I'm gonna just use you. I'm not saying you're right or wrong, okay? But what do you do on your chest what's your first exercise? Incline barbell. Incline Smith machine. Okay. Now, being honest with yourself, maybe before you became a trainer, okay, and before you became more educated in this, okay, what would you come in and do? Would you warm up? Okay. So you'd come in and probably put plates on the bar, right? Okay. That's the average answer of most people. I took a gamble hoping he was going to say that, and he did, because that's literally 90%. Okay. And what happens is did you count that set? You counted it, right? So technically, in theory, and what'd you go up to weight-wise? After that, like what was your next sets? 185. 185. 225. Okay. So 225 you were getting for how many? 6. Okay. So that 135, technically you used as a work set, but dependent upon the program and dependent upon that week, when you have a good program, that work set, in my opinion, was a warm-up set. Because I have a program in place, like for example, where someone, just real, brief, one of my programs that I have is 10 sets of flat bench, maybe even 12. I got to check. And someone will be like, 12 sets of flat bench. Now, granted, goes back to what I just said as far as overtraining. What am I doing it right? I only do 2 exercises in that week, okay? So it's that and a fly, and that's it. So I'm only doing 14 sets in total. But out of those 12 sets, there are work sets and there's warm-up sets. I'm only doing sets of 6, the majority of those 12 sets. So I have to get to a weight that's challenging. So for me, 225 at the time was heavy, okay? That was where I struggled for 6 reps. That was where I said, okay, that's my peak right there. That's my sweet spot. I need to get 6 sets of 6 reps, and what's gonna be the weight? And it ended up being 2 plates. If I came in and treated those other sets as work sets, it F's up the whole program. It messes up everything that I'm trying to do, okay? So you have to understand the difference between a work set and a warm-up set, okay? It's very important as a bodybuilder to recognize the difference. And I'm a big believer in warm-up sets to lead up to your actual work sets, because then that's when performance is going to be next level. Then you are actually going back to what I said earlier, quality over quantity. You did what you had to do for that period of time, and you maximized the 3 sets you had. Because if we take Matt's approach, pre-trainer and pre-education for what he knew, he technically, out of the 4 sets he may have done, he probably only did 1 true work set. Maybe even like 2 true work sets, because the 135 was easy for him. You understand what I'm saying, guys? Okay, so recognize your warm-up sets and recognize your work sets, and understand there's a very big difference, okay? And make it count. Some guys they get mad, whoever trains with me, they're like, are you ready yet? Are you ready to go? And I always do my warm-up, so I have a routine. Anyone that I'm training with, if I tell them we're working out at 11:30, I'm down here at 11 o'clock. And it's just because I have to go through my OCD checkpoints to make sure it's like, maybe because I'm doing it so long, but it's programmed. It's like 11:30, boom, I'm ready. My body tells me I'm ready to go. There has not been one time, I kid you not, in 22 years, I came in cold and just trained. Now, knock on wood, I did have 1 bad injury over the years, a torn pec, but for the most part, that saved me injury-wise, I feel like, because I do train very hard and very intense, but it goes back to the quality-quantity aspect. I always wanted to make sure that what I was doing in that workout, I made count, and that's very important. So, and it's also gonna help you with the next thing we're gonna talk about, okay, which is, I'm gonna jump a bit, which is connecting dots, okay, and mind-muscle connection. It's very hard to understand muscle movement and activating a muscle if you don't have blood in that area, okay? So now most of you guys are cold right now, so it might be hard for you to do this, and I'm gonna need a person to help us do it, okay? But when you are warmed up in a certain muscle group, it will help you in terms of if you are a body part training enthusiast. So if you like coming in and doing chest one day, back one day, legs one day, arms, etc. If that's the type of program you're doing, If you don't warm up that body part correctly, you're not going to be able to connect the dots better, okay? And that brings us to mind-muscle connection, okay? So, what is, real quick, Frank, what does mind-muscle connection mean to you?
Mind-muscle connection to me means like being able to close my eyes and really just focus, turn off all the muscle that might help me, and just focus on the one muscle I'm trying to train.
Great.
I really actually connect to it and feel it in that few working sets.
Yeah.
And get it close to failure.
Great. Okay, so that's good. That brings me to one of the statements I wanted to make is understanding. Okay, there's weightlifting, there's bodybuilding, and then there's powerlifting. Okay, 90% of the people in the gym every single day are weightlifting. Even though they're doing body part training, they're weightlifting. They're coming in, they're going through the motions, they're talking to their buddies while they're working out, and they are lifting weights. They are picking things up and putting things down, picking things up and putting things down. Bodybuilding is something very, very different. Bodybuilding is what he just said. It's understanding to truly shut off every other area of the body and allow that one muscle to work to maximize muscle fiber recruitment. And we're going to talk about that and dig deeper into that, okay? But muscle fiber recruitment is essentially going to be the game changer, the stimulus for your set. Going back to the quality over quantity. If you maximize that set, if you went in understanding each rep, not your 8th and 9th, 10th. Oh, I hear it all the time. Oh, come on, these are the reps that count. No. 8, 9, and 10 do not count any different than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is bodybuilding. Powerlifting is asking every muscle in the body to cohesively work together to generate one output. Okay, that's powerlifting. Now we're done with that. Weightlifting, we're done with that. We, as bodybuilders or body part enthusiasts or wanting to be better lifters, we have to learn to connect dots and maximize that one muscle for that 1 hour. And that's the key difference in terms of what's going to separate you from every single person out there. It's not by like some sheer coincidence that someone looks better than the other. It's the effort that they put into their workouts, the effort that they put into their training day in and day out. Every rep, every set, every exercise, every workout. You don't value something more than the other. It all matters. It all plays a very vital role in the actual success and you getting results. Does everyone understand that? Okay, that's really important to really grasp because, you know, like I said, I just said it and I see it all the time. Like they're making the last reps count or they're making the heavy sets count and they're putting that emphasis into that. And I get it. Like, okay, if you're lifting heavier, you need to kind of tap in a little bit more and focus in a little bit more. But I'm sorry, from a mind-muscle connection standpoint, from the minute I clock in, you know, sometimes people misjudge me and they think, oh, Mike's very serious or he's in a bad mood. No, Mike's training. And I'm sorry, this is my time. Like this is my hour to do me. And if I ask one guy how he's doing, he just told me everything about his day and his weekend and life. And I'm like, I can't ask anyone how they're doing during my workout. I'm sorry. How am I doing? I'm working out. I care about me, you know? So, hey buddy, and that's it. I do my thing. That's me because I'm focused in on maximizing my workout and maximizing my time. And that's what you guys essentially need to be doing with your workout. Understanding that that is what's going to separate you from the pack. Okay. So the mind-muscle connection. Okay. Show of hands, if you could. I feel like, quick little thing. We were all little kids once, right? And mom and dad would say, oh, flex your muscle. And what would be the first thing we would do? That's it. Bicep. That's it. And the reason for that is because it's one of the easiest muscles to connect to. Why we see it, it's a very small muscle, and just sure enough, now you want to talk about something funny, that's literally been programmed into you since you're a little kid. So if you don't know how to flex your bicep, well then shit, we need a whole course on its own and we need our own private time and we'll work on that. But every single one of us did the same thing as a kid. We go like this and show us your muscles, okay? So that's a muscle we learned to connect to. But the other ones are a little bit trickier, okay? Chest for some people, hard to connect to. Back for some people, hard to connect to, okay? Shoulders for some people, hard to connect to. And then quads is kind of easy. Hamstrings is very tricky, glutes, everything else is kind of tricky. So what I recommend to you guys, okay, and ideally I would like to do a quick demonstration with someone if they could, is just go over flexing and posing real quick. And you can tell me, oh, I don't ever want to get on stage, I don't want to compete. And that's fine. This isn't about getting on stage. This is about, if you understand how to pose and connect to a muscle, you can utilize that better on the gym floor. Because if you're benching and not knowing how to flex your chest, or how to flex your back, or how to flex your shoulders, you don't understand simple muscle mechanics, it's going to be impossible to maximize a back row if you don't understand retraction and activation of lats and activation of scapula and where your shoulders need to be depressed and things like that, things that are going to take place. Okay, so does anyone want to help me out here with doing some poses? Okay, come on, and then I'll grab you next. Okay, what body part do you have trouble connecting to?
Back.
Back, beautiful. Okay, stand here for me, please. Stand this way. Okay, right there. Does everyone see him properly? Okay, bring your arm straight out in front of you. Okay, and let's do a seated row. And don't try to be perfect, do you, okay? Do that again. Okay, perfect. So it's hard to see, guys. I don't know if you see it, but just do it one more time. Okay, so that was probably your best one, okay? But what he did there is because he knew I was going to correct him, you knew it, okay, is the first 5 reps he pulled with his arms, okay? So retraction is key in terms of understanding how a row is and how a row works and what matters in terms of like when we're doing back, how we maximize the workout, okay? So bring your arms up again. Your arm, essentially relax your trap. Good. So now there's going to be something I talk about later in a bit, but there's secondary muscles that want to get involved. There's stabilizers, and then there's primaries, okay? So he's doing a seated row right now, so his primary mover is right here. This meat and potato right here is his lat, and we need this activating. When he was doing it, when he started, stay relaxed, this is what I saw, okay? Now if you take a look, okay, nothing's going on back here in terms of activation, okay? Now, what I need him to do is chest up, posture up, pull the core in, brace, okay? Chest up an inch, stay braced, good. And we're gonna do this together, okay? Lead through the lat, okay? Pull, retract back, follow through, engage, and squeeze, okay? That is now scapular retraction with lat engagement. Whoa, now it's completely activated. Your muscle is literally rock like hard here, built tight, good. Whereas if I would have felt your back 5 minutes ago when you were just doing this, so you can see my back, guys, you see his back, nothing going on, okay? And then now we activate, engage core, retract, pull through, follow, okay? That is one, thank you, brother. That right there is going to be really important in terms of understanding lat engagement and how to activate the lats, okay? Did you see that? Did you understand it? Okay. Did you understand it? Okay. Do you guys have any questions as far as that goes? No questions. Okay. Chest is your problem, right? Okay, come here. Okay. So stay sideways for me.
This way?
This way, yep. Okay. So Eduardo's going to do a simulated bench press, okay? So bring your elbows up, okay? And don't do anything to impress the crowd here. Do you. Okay, stop right here. Okay. So now, generally speaking, if we look at Eduardo from just a mechanical standpoint of protecting his joints and the safer way to bench, everything seems fine. But But the problem is when they're writing these books and they're putting these books together, they're not concerned, unless you're reading a bodybuilding textbook, they're not concerned about hypertrophy, they're concerned about safety. And they're teaching him proper form for it to be as safe as possible. And in theory, he'll still activate his chest. So he's working his chest, it's fine. You know, that's all they care about, a little activation to the chest. But Eduardo didn't fire his pecs optimally. He didn't get the most out of them in terms of, okay, now we just go into repeating what I said. Quality over quantity, each set, each rep, each exercise, activating the chest and firing as many muscle fibers as possible, okay? So now we're gonna go elbow up, okay? We're gonna go core tight, okay? Now, instead of leading through here, okay, I need you to engage, flex the chest, chest up, engage. Now lead from here and push out. Shoulder blades stay back a little bit more. Lead from here, push out. I don't know if you guys can see it. I mean, I see it because I'm very close. You should feel it immediately. You should feel the activation. Now, seeing is really for the trainer. Feeling is what's important for you guys. It doesn't really matter even honestly if you don't see it. Do you feel it?
Yes, a lot.
A lot. A lot more, okay? And this is not bullshitting. I didn't pay him $20 to say this. I paid you what, $10 to say that? $10 to say that. So, you know, it comes down to helping yourself understand connecting the dots. And that's going back to what Frank said. Trick is one of the tricks is not counting on the mirror. Connecting dots is about closing your eyes. Thank you. Connecting the dots is about closing your eyes and connecting to muscle groups without any weight, okay, and without anything attached to it, and just learning how to activate and fire muscles. And that's why posing is important, because if you can essentially master posing, and I don't mean posing like mastering it like flawlessly beautiful poses. I mean just simply flexing a muscle group and activating it. If you're able to do that, then when you're on the gym floor and you're doing the workout, it's one less thing for you to think about, because that repetitive motion is now natural. It's second nature. So like when you're doing any exercise, you gotta say, there's checkpoints, there's cues, there's stabilizers, there's what's firing, what's not, I need to feel this. If you have all that going on every set, it's overwhelming. But if certain things become second nature and it's one less thing for you to worry about, then you can actually focus on just activating the chest naturally and not having to put so much emphasis on it. Okay, so does everyone understand that? Okay, so I do recommend flexing, I do recommend posing, and I recommend connecting to muscle groups better. If you have a tough time with a particular one, at the end of the class, I can help you with it and help you connect dots better for a better workout. Okay, let's get into going back into what I just said. Now we're going to piggyback off what I just said. Checkpoints and angles. This is definitely one of my specialties. And ideally, when I show you the 5 exercises, one of the other important things, so many important things, but one of the most important things when you're lifting is understanding we are all completely different in terms of height, joints, and how our bodies are going to kind of like, dependent upon lifestyles, dependent upon sports backgrounds, athletic backgrounds. We all have different aspects. So when I'm showing Nick, who's how tall? 6'3", okay, 5'7", okay, on a good day, okay. When I'm showing him an exercise, okay, it's going to be very different for him to understand maybe my cues. Me as a trainer, I can do that. I can show him the correct cues. But when he's doing it for himself, if he looks at the guy next to him and says, well, that's the way he's benching, or that's the way he's flying, or that's the way he's rowing, but his arms go twice as long as the next guy, that's going to be something that he has to factor in. So when you're training on your own, okay, it's important to realize that if you don't feel the muscle activate at all, or you don't feel the muscle being used, there's a very strong chance you're doing it wrong. And it just simply needs to be corrected. And this is the time where you can't find it on Instagram. This is the time where you can't find it on TikTok. This is the time when you got to make the effort and do actual due diligence, do research, okay? If you trust the local trainer in the gym, you ask them to help you out. If you don't trust the local trainer in the gym, then you go on YouTube, and there are credible sources where you can actually find, movement patterns and mechanical stuff to improve and help connect dots better. But please don't look at the person next to you to say, well, how do you bench? Because chances are what they're showing you is wrong, or just simply what may work for them. And if you're having trouble connecting to a body part and it's not firing, it's going to be long-term minimal success, and you're going to be set back a long time. You have intentions of being a bodybuilder one day, okay? Your chest, you say, is your weak point, and you're not connecting. It needs to be fixed now. If you wait on that, you're going to be behind the 8 ball for a long time. And the same thing goes for you at your age. And what are you, how old? Yeah, I don't know if you want to be a bodybuilder or not, but you're here to learn. And it's important to understand that if you're not feeling a muscle group when you're on the gym floor, it needs to be corrected today. Don't wait on that, because you are wasting your time. And you don't, you're here, you have the hour, maximize it, get the most out of it. So if there is a body part you're having trouble connecting to, do your due diligence and get it corrected. So this way, it's like the law of attrition. Each day you get 1% better, 1% better, 1% better, 1% better. And before you know it, 3 or 6 months from now, you guys all have big chests and big shoulders, and you're growing and things are happening, okay? So that's something to keep in mind, okay? Let's talk about when we actually do an exercise, okay? The 4 functions of the muscle when performing it. And that goes back to what I just said, the agonist, the synergist, the stabilizer, the antagonist, okay? Long story short, those are the science names. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to say the primary, the secondary, the stabilizer, okay, and the opposing muscle, okay? So with that, bodybuilding goes back to maximum muscle fiber recruitment. So when we're doing a set, synergist, okay, there's a little, in the basic training textbooks of all the textbooks that you learn, there's a term called synergistic dominance. Okay, and synergistic dominance essentially means that the secondary muscle is taking over the exercise and doing the work for the primary. Okay, but it's a real simple fix. We have control over that. Our mind-muscle connection allows us to simply say, shoulders, stay the F home. We're doing chest, okay? Your job is to stabilize. I don't need your help. I want to focus specifically on my chest. Synergistic dominance only takes place when you're not in the moment, when you're not in the set, when you're not paying attention to what you're doing. Joe, what'd you do this weekend? Oh yeah, sick. That's awesome, right? And then you look at Joe, and Joe's, well, and then Joe comes over to me 3 days later. Oh, bro, how'd you get your arms so big? Well, I wasn't dancing, Joe, when I was doing curls. That's where it starts, right? And Joe's dancing. Joe got his hips going, he's here, and that right there, this is not maybe synergistic dominance, but this is help. This is assistance. You generate a lot of hip swing, a lot of hip shift, and this momentum is going to carry that curl through. So you want to talk about the primary mover in a curl. The primary mover in the curl is the bicep. But a lot of guys, because ego-driven or just simply not paying attention and not being in the moment, they're doing a lot of this. Or they're doing a lot of this. And this, okay, did I activate the bicep yet? No. I activated my front delt. That feels pretty good. I may do that for front delts, right? But they don't know that. They just see this and they're doing this. Bicep curl is, we're tucked in, we're set, and boom, 1, boom, 2. Now, is there a time and a place to manipulate angles? Absolutely. But there's levels to this. And those levels come in time. This is bodybuilding 101. We're going over basics. We're going over movement patterns. We're learning how to connect dots on a beginner level. Then we can eventually graduate to doing bigger things. but you have to understand the foundation first. If you're using your hips to drive through a lot of your exercises, not necessarily synergistic dominance, but that hip swing will cause the primary to not activate 100%, which in turn less muscle fiber recruitment, which in turn less activation, which in turn less results. Does everyone understand that? Okay. I see this a lot on the gym floor. So this is something to not overlook. Utilize the mirrors at times and utilize your proprioception, which is closing your eyes and understanding where your body parts are and how to connect to muscle groups and understand how to activate certain things internally. There's internal feedback. When I do a curl, I feel my bicep. I don't see my bicep working, I feel it working. That's important. Feeling the muscle work will take you so much further than seeing. Okay? You see I have muscles, but I don't see them working on a bench press. I can't see myself on a bench press. I need to feel, okay? And feeling is important. A squat is not an exercise where you flex your quads and you flex your glutes. No. You don't do that in a squat. A squat is specifically a movement that's going to fire those muscles and work those muscles, but you don't need to contract anything. You just need to do the weight and lift it and put it up and down. That's an internal cue. That's internally connecting dots and understanding in the squat at the bottom position, I'm gonna activate my hamstring, I'm gonna activate my glute, I'm gonna activate my quad. As I come up, everything fires cohesively and I'm performing a squat properly. It's not a leg extension where it's simply here to here and you can flex a muscle and see, if you look down, you see your quad turn on. No, not every muscle is gonna have that turn on effect. Some muscles you have to internally get the cue. Does everyone understand that? Okay, so very important as a bodybuilder, as a better lifter, okay? Understanding that the primary mover is what matters most. And if you're feeling another muscle group in that area, it can happen. For example, when you're doing a bench press, there may be times where you're doing the bench press, and if you're doing 12 to 20 reps, higher reps, and your triceps maybe get a little fatigued, that's okay, because synergistically speaking, the secondary muscle group in a bench is the tricep. It could get a little activation and a little work, but there are gonna be plenty of times where you're doing the bench press and all you feel is shoulder, and all you feel is tricep, and that's the problem. So if that's where you're at, knowing what exercises you're doing, knowing what area it's supposed to hit, and knowing that if you're activating that area properly, then again, maximizing muscle fiber recruitment, okay? Now the stabilizers are important to keep in mind because the way stabilizers work is this happens a lot with hips and happens a lot with shoulders, okay? So if you don't understand a stabilization point, then it's going to go back to the beginning where we were and talk about form, okay? So when I cued Eduardo, and what did I cue you on? Back, right? Okay, when I cued these guys on these moves, okay, one of the things I did with both of them was fixing their stabilizers, and their stabilizers were their body position, okay? So from a bodybuilding better lifter standpoint, it doesn't always come down to the muscle you're working. You need to understand checkpoints, okay? Checkpoints are really, 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 really important in terms of connecting dots and going back to repeating everything I just said. And one of the best cues I can give you guys is understanding your pelvic floor muscles, okay? And your internal, your intrinsic core stabilizer muscles, and understanding body position through here, okay? Because there's gonna be a time when the back being arched is gonna be really, really important. And there's a time when the back is just neutral and spine is neutral, and that's gonna be really important. Now we can dive into every exercise and break it down, and again, I'll help you guys if you need it, but it's understanding, like, I'm not feeling it, what's going on? Well, a lot of times when people bench, they're so arched back and they're so here and they're braced and they're benching like this. And I don't know if you see, I got nothing going on for chest, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull in, core goes in, okay? Shoulder blade is stable, okay? Now my chest is level, it's not far back, core is tight. Now the chest is gonna activate. You see the first move? You see everything? This is what's leading the group. The chest, it's firing the muscle first. That's the first muscle to fire. And that's because I changed body position. I can't really do it here. If I'm here like this, my lat still wants to kick on. It still wants to help. The shoulder blade is gonna be stretched for the most part. Oh, Jesus, I thought I saw something. For the most part, the shoulder blade's gonna be stretched where it's gonna be kind of getting like that, like pull sensation throughout the whole move, and you're gonna be feeling your shoulder more than you're gonna be feeling your chest. So it's important to understand body position and know that it's not just gonna be about where your chest is, it's also gonna be about where your entire posture is gonna be. So pulling your core in, rotating the elbow, understanding the wrist, understanding the elbow, understanding the shoulder blade, core tight, everything engaged, checkpoint, 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 checkpoint. Now I'm prepared to bench. Now I'm gonna go into this bench press thinking about and firing my chest first, maximizing chest recruitment. That's the key. That's what matters most. Because if you're doing it the other way, you're going to hit it, but you're not gonna maximize. And that's the key. Again, separating yourself from the pack, okay? So that's where stabilizers come into play. That's important to keep in mind, okay? Now let's break down an actual set and doing the actual rep. Okay? So we have 3 aspects of doing a rep. There's the negative, or the scientific term eccentric. There's the positive, or concentric. And then there's the isometric, or I should say the contraction, and then the isometric is the science name. Okay? So what does this all mean? What I see with most guys and beginners is they're focused on one phase. What phase, Dennis? Contraction? Most guys you feel focused on contraction?
Well, at least the positive part.
Oh, maybe for a bicep curl. Like yeah, okay. So for me, I would say the concentric, okay? Like maybe on a bicep curl, they focus on the squeeze.
I don't think that they're putting it like they're feeling it the most. I feel that they're focused the most on the positive.
The positive.
The negative.
The positive.
Yes.
Okay. That's, yeah. Okay. So, and that's very important. Everyone that joins the gym, their first priority is the positive / the concentric. How much they can lift, how heavy they can push, how fast they can do it, how easy they can make it look for their buddies, okay? And they stay in that little sweet spot, okay, the entire time, okay? Now the problem with that is there's a whole other phase, 2 other phases. There's the eccentric and the concentric. Now, the problem with bodybuilding is we can sit here for weeks and break this all down. We can, with programming, there's so many programs that we can go over and discuss. And what I try to tell people is it's important to kind of have a little bit of everything in each workout, or when you're each plan. So the next bodybuilding seminar I'm going to do is diving into building the actual workout plan with all the different variables and understanding how that all breaks down. But the bare basics of it is you should understand that with 3 aspects of the rep, they all need to be a part of your routine. Now, you don't need to focus on them each week, but they need to be in the plan. So if we're looking at the plan as a whole, okay, and we're just going to say for 1 month, there has to be a focus, or there has to be an energy or a thought process to say, in week 1, we are going to stay on the eccentric phase of the movement. That's going to be my concentration. Now, egotistically speaking, you might be the weakest lifter in the gym that day, okay? Because your buddy's going to be doing, you guys are doing chest, and he's got 2 plates on the bar and he's blasting reps. And you might be in the gym doing quarters with him, but you're in the eccentric phase. And with that, you're going to be working, I can guarantee, twice as hard as he is, and everyone's going to think you're the weak guy in the gym, or you're not strong and you don't know what you're doing. But what I try to tell people is you have to pay attention to the why, right? Every single exercise and every single thing that you're doing in the gym, there's been times I've done really strange exercises and really weird mechanical patterns. And people may look over and be like, what the hell is he doing? That's not how you do a lat pull down. That's not how you do this. It doesn't even make any sense. But I was trying to connect to a specific area of my lat. I was trying to work a specific part of my muscle. So that played a role. The eccentric phase, okay, yes, you're doing half the weight, if not even more than half the weight. But when you hang out in the eccentric phase and you understand controlling the negative and you control the weight, not the weight controlling you, that simple principle moving forward, you will build a whole other layer of muscle tissue, okay? I am by no means the biggest guy in the room. I am short, I am bone structure wise, not wide, okay? But turn me sideways and I'm thicker than most people you'll see. And there's a reason for that, is layers and layers and layers of muscle tissue, okay? And that is where bodybuilding is a deception. Bodybuilding is not necessarily, oh, he looks, everyone said to me, what were you on stage? I mean, reality, I was 195, 200. No effing way. You look 220 on stage, you look this. Because bodybuilding is an illusion. Your muscularity is an illusion. So you need to learn how to build that foundational muscle tissue, the layers of muscle tissue. And I'm sorry, if you're only hanging out in the concentric phase, you'll have a big frame, you'll be strong, but you're forgetting a whole other muscle fiber. There's 2 types of muscle fibers you're focused on, type 1, type 2, and there's A and B's to that, okay? That aspect is, if you're always in the concentric phase, you're only tapping into one muscle fiber, okay? And that, as a better lifter or separating yourself from the pack, you're not doing. So there needs to be a place for the eccentric phase. In my opinion, it is by far the most important phase. Probably I'm guilty of hanging out there too much. Sometimes I control the weight too much. Sometimes I go slow too much. Maybe it helped me long term in terms of injuries, you know. I never really had crazy max numbers, you know, but there was a shit ton of muscle tissue that I built over the years. So understanding the eccentric phase and how important it is, in my opinion, is extremely crucial in terms of long-term growth and potential. Does everyone understand the eccentric, the negative, understanding that on a bench press, this is the positive, okay? This is the concentric going up. The negative would be how you control it coming down, okay? The negative, the eccentric phase, okay? On a row, the positive, that's opposite. You're pulling up, okay? The negative would be how you control it down, okay? So for each muscle group, it's gonna kind of vary depending on a bicep curl, concentric, eccentric, okay? The negative. So understanding that, but utilizing it is very, very important. It needs to be in the program. You need to make the effort, and if you're saying, I want to do the program myself, no problem. Write down the program yourself, but put it in there. A week has to be dedicated to eccentric training. It has to be a focal point. And I'm telling you, if you do it, you're not only going to get better pumps, but you will essentially get better results over time. It's going to be a significant difference long term. Okay, so make that a priority. Now the other one I don't see, at least for all muscle groups, is the isometric or the contraction. I see it on bicep curls. I see it on some chest exercises. Okay, I see it on some leg exercises, but I don't see it as a priority in back. I don't see it as a priority in shoulders. I don't see it as a priority in certain exercises where it needs to be. Okay, so the isometric or the contraction means how you're flexing the muscle. But the difference is when you're posing at home, okay, there's no under tension. So if I'm doing a pose like this, I'm not under tension. But if I have weight pulling me back and then I'm fighting the contraction and I'm here and staying there, that's going to be a significant difference in terms of a different type of muscle fiber, a different type of activation, a stimulation that I'm looking to fire up that muscle and get it going. Does everyone understand that? So the isometric phase needs to be put into the program. If you don't have the isometric phase, it needs to be there. And I think there should be a week for that. And how I go about my isometric phase is contractions, and they can be anywhere from 1 second contractions, which seems like, well, I already do that. No, you don't. You're kind of here and there. Here and there. That's kind of half-second contraction. So I would say anywhere from 1 would be bare minimum, but if you're saying that this week's focal point is going to be contractions, it's anywhere from 2 to 10 seconds, okay? And you know, I put a lot of workouts in my, you know, on Instagram and stuff like that. And it's funny, I always get the most feedback on the contractions and the eccentric stuff. And it's simply because, like I just said, no one's doing it. So when they try this different stuff out, it's really not me reinventing the wheel. It's just reminding them of something that they're not doing, you know? And that simply comes down to breaking habits. We come in and we have a tendency to kind of gravitate towards the same things over and over again. It's just easier. That's why I say get a program, follow the program, and ideally if the coach that you hired or the training plan that you bought they're knowledgeable and they have the credentials, that plan is going to be enriched with a whole bunch of variables. And those variables are key. And this is what drives me crazy about Instagram and TikTok. You have a good looking guy or a good looking girl, 3 sets of 10. 3 sets of 10. This is, no. It's not just 3 sets of 10. There is 100 things happening in those 10 reps that you're not talking about. And they're not getting into the logistics of it. And you have 60,000 likes for giving someone some bullshit information, and that workout will not work. It won't. It will do something just by simple, like, it's better than nothing. But it's not, you want to be better lifters. You want to go next level. Next level is you need to say, guys, forget the reps, forget the sets. How are you doing the rep? This is the rep. Eccentric, concentric, isometric. That's what matters. The how, not just the what. There's no secret. Chris Bumstead, he's not doing 3 sets of 40 and not telling anyone. No, he understands how to connect to the muscle better than most of us. And that's why he has small arms, so not Chris. But other guys, you know, will have big biceps. And why? Because he connects dots better to that muscle group, okay? And the same thing with girls with their glutes, okay? 3 sets of 10 for squats, and then you do, you know, thrust kicks and booty stuff. No, they're not showing you anything you already don't know. What they're showing you is, they're not telling you is how. When they're in the moment, what's going on internally, and how they're cueing their glutes to fire 110%. That's what matters. That's what you can't see on Instagram. And that's why it's important to decipher and separate the two. Does everyone understand that? Okay. So it leads me into the next part, and then we'll get on the exercises aspect. Okay, I just want to kind of finish it off with the Instagram and reality type stuff. All right, so, I mean, listen, a lot of this is brief, and a lot of this I'm praying most of you already know, but maybe for the younger people, maybe they don't. So I just want to go over it briefly, okay? The lifestyle. This lifestyle, the important thing to understand is, first and foremost, is no one is in shape 24/7, 365. There are highs and lows. And if you want results, okay, this is more important. Maybe some people are in shape because their goal is simply to be that all year long. But if you want to be a bodybuilder, or you want to be a bigger bodybuilder, or even for girls wanting to build more muscle tissue, you have to respect and understand there's off seasons okay? And with the off seasons, there's gonna be times where you just simply don't like the way you look, okay? And you're simply just not comfortable in your own skin, but it's for a purpose. So the influencers are always going to show their best selves, and they're always going to show their best work. And I can assure you, speaking from experience, okay, I just coming off a competition, okay, I have literally about 300 pictures that I can kind of sprinkle out over the next year. And it just simply is pictures of me in shape. But I can assure you, come, well, September, October, there's going to be fluffy, chubby-cheeked Mike in no time. And, you know, I'm not going to be 100% content with the way I look, but it's because next year I have a goal in mind, okay? No, it's not to step on stage. It's just to simply be better than I was this year. And I have to understand that in order to gain 1 to 2 pounds of muscle tissue potentially, I need to gain 10 to 15 pounds of muscle and fat over that off season. Okay, so just understand that what you're seeing isn't the reality. Okay, and that's important to keep in mind. Okay, and going back to what I just said, knowing that you're not seeing the details of the workout, and this is why I can't stress it enough. Have a plan of a coach you trust. Have a plan of someone who can truly help you with good, solid credentials. Because the influencers are just giving you bare, basic bullshit workouts, and they're not showing you the details of the grind, the details of what's going to separate you from the pack. And that's going to be important as far as the workout goes, okay? And then just lastly, in terms of that, is if you truly love it, okay, you love this sport and you love this lifestyle, is understanding it is absolutely 110% a marathon, by no means a sprint. You see a lot of transformations online, a lot of 3-month things, a lot of 10-week things, 8-week things, and you know they're charging $200 to look different for 8 months. I can guarantee you, I'm more than capable of doing the same thing as a coach, but all you're doing is literally sabotaging your entire progress over the long-term big picture. And those situations are starving yourselves or undernourished or undercalorically properly eating the right things, and you're doing things for quick fixes. And this sport is, if you love it, you understand it's a marathon and you have to take your time doing it. And it's gonna take time, a lot of time. So just trust the process and enjoy it, okay? We're going to go on the gym floor now. Like, we're going to do some exercises here, okay, and then potentially on the gym floor. And this is where you guys are going to help me out in terms of, you know, giving me some feedback. But just know this, okay? We talked about it the entire time, okay? I didn't say the word once, but we talked about everything that it involves, and that's discipline, okay? Discipline is a key word in the success of whatever you choose to be successful at. The lawyer who chose to, you know, go to law school and have his head in the books every single weekend, as opposed to going with his buddies drinking every single weekend, is making all that money now because he had the discipline and the choice to make that sacrifice and stay home, okay, and focus on that. This lifestyle is no different. There's going to be sacrifices you're going to have to make, and you're going to have the discipline to do so. So these aren't just catchwords I have on my wall. I put these here because they were kind of like personal things to me, that they mean so much to me because I've literally been imprinting these things in my head. These words all have a meaning to me, and just don't look at it as a word. You need to have the discipline. You need to say day in and day out, I have a goal. I wrote it down. We said this at the beginning. The discipline is I want to be a better lifter. I want to be a better bodybuilder. I want to look better naked. Okay, great. You need to have the discipline. That is the key. Day in and day out, okay? You need to sacrifice. Now it goes into the emotional connection. When we were talking about, I didn't say this again, but another word we're using right now talks about everything I just said, belief. You need to truly believe in yourselves. And that starts with, it sounds crazy, like, oh, what is this turning into? This is turning into, sometimes people just don't realize the power that's within you, okay? You need to know how much potential you have to be the best you can be and harness it. The guy I told you about on the gym floor, he's a successful nurse. He's got 3 jobs. He's doing great. He's killing it. He's making a boatload of money. And he's like, oh, I can never look like you. Bullshit. I can't be a nurse. You know why? because I'm not going to nursing school and I choose not to be a nurse. But it doesn't mean if I wanted to be a nurse and I wanted to make that effort, I can do it. Al, you just switched careers, right? I mean, you literally went to school for something and you said, you know what, I want to do something different. In hindsight, or in the beginning, it may have looked crazy. But now in hindsight, what did you simply do? Make the effort, put forth the time, and you said, I believe in myself, I can do this, and it happened. It's a success story. Same thing applies with the gym. You have to believe in yourself, because there's going to be a shit ton of doubt throughout the process, and trust me, there's going to be a shit ton of plateaus. You are going to have months where you think you're not getting results. But it goes back to my client who wasn't getting results, or at least she thought, but just staying in the same place and maintaining what you had in itself is a goal. It's half the battle. So it's not always about moving forward. Sometimes it's just not about moving backwards, okay? Commitment, last word, okay, is once you take all these words and you commit, then it's actually giving yourself the amount of time to let it take its course, okay? So you guys got to truly commit to the success of the goal and everything you believe in. And trust me, as far as being better lifters, everything that I show you now and what we talked about, you'll get there. But you need to put that actual effort in and really, really try to push through it, okay? So with that, we're going to do the exercise breakdown, and this is the fun part, okay? So we have a decent amount of time. You can stay as long as you like, and we're going to break down exercises. So what I wanted to essentially do is I had 5 exercises in mind that kind of touched upon everything that we talked about in terms of connection and understanding. But if you'd like, if there's an exercise like a show of hands, or maybe like a collective group, if there's one exercise we need to go over, let me know and we can do that. Okay, so what do you have trouble connecting to? Biceps, okay. Anyone else in the room? Just good girl, do that again. Now watch, you keep going there, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to be here because you don't want to strain your front delt, which is where you predominantly probably feel. You want to think about here. So come up again. That a girl. Good. Keep the wrist over. Okay. Inch deeper if you could. 2. Now watch the hips. The hips are dropping. That's it. Pull the core in. Stabilize. When you need to stop, you take that break, okay? And the wrist stays over. The movement pattern, elbows are slightly right about there, not too far in. How's that feeling?
I feel it.
You feel it? Okay, good. Thank God. She didn't, all this shit was for nothing, right? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Okay, take a break a second. Okay, so I'm a big advocate on, like, when I see this, right, I'll come over to someone and I'll be like cueing them. Now, just no, you can relax that down. Just bring your arm like in right angle. Usually, without the weight. Yeah, just like, so usually most people are like here. So when I cue them to fix them, I always tell them elbow back. But her cue is actually, it's correct, but it was almost too far back. So when she was over here, she's forcing that shoulder, that front delt, to fire first, and it's really hard for her to connect to the chest because the front delt is exhausted at this point. So she was hitting the chest, but she just had so much tiring and so much fatigue in the front delt that all she really felt was there. So we just essentially just relaxed the shoulder down just a bit, okay? And then we created that hip angle, okay? And then she led through the pec. And then when she came up, the first thing to fire as opposed to the second thing was the pec. Did you see the difference there? Okay, that's cool. Now I'm gonna move this over, right? What do you do with flies? What weight? Matt, can you grab 5s for me? So does everyone understand that? There's a difference between, so this is most people, and then the cues and checkpoints that I correct them on are checkpoint 1, wrist, okay? This is not where you want to be because this is going to force you into elbows dropping down, okay? So the second thing the first thing you focus on is wrist. It starts here. So we go here. Now me naturally doing this to this, okay, if you see, it's kind of like a motorcycle on a throttle, okay? We're going to go this way. The elbow comes up just a little. So that's going to allow us to internally connect dots a little bit more comfortably. It's hard for me to do this if I can't do this. You understand? So step 1 is here. Now I'm halfway there. Now step 2 is, okay, I got this down. Step 2 is I'm gonna go a step further than here. I'm gonna bring myself up. Now here's where I am. This is where I want you. This is where she was. See the difference? And that's why she felt her shoulder a little bit as opposed to all chest. So all we had to do, her cue was good in terms of her angle and her body position. We just need to drop it down just a bit, okay? So that's step 2. Step 3 was the shoulder. We understand. 1, 2, 3. So now we have our checkpoints. The last thing to go over is understanding body position, okay? So I always tell people the arch in the back has a purpose and a place. But for chest development, it can be counterproductive if you do it as far as like, I want to activate my chest 110%. So what I do is I actually pull their navel in and I focus on, if I can get my hand underneath your back, that's a problem. So I don't want to get my hand underneath the back, okay? Allie's a power lifter. She would be looking at me right now if she didn't know what was going on. She'd be like, this guy's crazy. It goes against everything she knows. But she cares about what she does on her meet, okay? She cares about chest development. It all goes back to the goal. So that's why the hand under the small of the spine is really important. That's your last checkpoint. And then checkpoint 4 is where you're pushing from. She has an experience, as an experienced lifter, understands when I cued her to say chest activation, she knew to push from the chest first. That's very important. That's a cue that takes time to learn. And if you don't know it, you just got to practice it. But after her doing it a few reps, how'd it feel? Great. Okay. Do you want to do the sample on the fly? Okay. Go back in the same position. Okay. Let me see the fly. Okay. These aren't bad. Do you feel these when you do these?
A little bit.
Okay, so, yep, okay. So what I want you to do is you can sit up a second. Okay, so I want you to see a visual of me. So sit up so you can see how I do it. Okay, it's just gonna be, okay, actually. You know what? I showed you this already, so you come here. And I want you to see what I see. Okay, sit down. Okay, yeah, lay down. Okay, so Eduardo, actually I corrected him about 2 weeks ago on this. How did it feel?
So way better.
Way better, okay. So what Eduardo was essentially doing was kind of what you were doing. And a lot of people, when they do their flies, they have a tendency to kind of stretch the anterior head of the shoulder or the front delt, okay? They put a lot of emphasis on this portion of the arm and they're not getting that activation in the chest like they want to because they're doing more of a press rather than a fly, okay? So let's go basics 101. A press is down and up, down, up. What people forget and what people don't do is this is what they do with their fly. Then they'll take it a step further. This is it. So if you guys are basic beginner lifters, you know all I did was just change my wrist angle and I'm still benching. I'm still pressing. I'm not flying. A fly is out to in, out to in. Now the key is when you do this, go back in that position, okay? When she was there and she has this here and like this, what's getting overly stretched?
Front delt.
Front delt, okay? You see it. It's all right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take his arm, we're gonna pull it out, okay? We're gonna reach it, we're gonna soften the elbow up just a bit, good. And we're gonna drop the shoulder blade, that a boy. Now the hips are gonna come up, engage core. Okay, now what he's gonna do here is he's gonna go out to in. He's got a big giant beach ball. He's got this ball on top of him. He needs to come around and give it a big hug, okay? So now he's going out to in, out to in. And even with no weight, he should feel that immediate activation, okay? Do you see that? Mm-hmm. I want you to try it. So the elbow, now let's go over the checkpoints real quick. Bring them up before you start. Let's go over checkpoint step by step. So dumbbells up, always start together for safety. Okay, so checkpoint 1 is going to be wrist over, okay, because that's going to be one less thing to worry about. Because if we do this, that's going to be a strain in the forearm and the elbow. So we want to avoid that. So wrist is going to be over. Then what she's going to think about is just that little good, that slight softening of the elbow. So it basically will allow her to focus on the chest as she comes down. She'll stay loose in the bicep. Her hips are level, which is great, okay? And now the key is with this plane of motion is another tendency people do is they have a tendency to go back, okay? And they don't even realize it because they're laying down, they can't see this. So you gotta make sure your shoulder blades are down and the elbows turned over slightly, okay? And it's gonna be out to in, okay? So let's give it a try. Just a little bit right here. That'll go, okay? And now think out to in. Good, elbows stay soft, okay? And you're giving a big hug. So what, okay, the depth a little bit higher, that right there. Good, so no deeper than that because now your chest is getting stretched without the shoulder. So come up again. 2, good. Again. 3, good. Keep going. 4, so your tendency is to do the shoulder. You've got to watch that, think side. Eduardo didn't know the game because he's too young, but who remembers the game Operation? There you go, okay. You remember the game Operation? Let's play. Go ahead. Okay, this is your sweet spot. Okay, you need to stay here. That a girl. A little bit, it's okay. But you're finding that a little bit better. You're not going back, okay? And just keeping that elbow soft is key, okay? Are you feeling it?
Yeah.
You are. Okay, great. I just want you to make sure you felt it. Okay, come back down again. Perfect. So those are 2 key aspects of how to build a bigger chest over time. Now, again, she's in really good shape. She's really fit. She obviously is getting chest activation, but now we just want to take it a step further. We want to get that 1% or 2% or 3% better because now over the next 6 months, if she has that 1 or 2% over every chest workout, come 6 months from now, she's going to be literally 10% better in terms of her chest development and her chest strength. She may have to cut the weight in half, which is fine in the beginning, but now she understands connecting dots without getting that tension or anything in the elbow or anything in the front delt. Okay, so that's 2 moves for chest that will be, well, 2 cues for chest that are going to be really helpful. So you know your checkpoints, your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, your movement pattern, and last but not least, where your hip is. Okay, so this can all be done on a bench. All these cues follows the same suit on decline, incline, and any other exercise for chest. Okay, it's just about manipulation of wrist, angle, and playing around. And you play around with yourself. You know, when you're doing it, try different things and just see, but take these checkpoints and utilize them to find that sweet spot. Okay, does that make sense? Great. What'd you say, Mike? Shoulders? Oh, you said chest? Okay. Who said shoulders? You did? Okay, come on. Which exercise do you not feel?
Rear delt and the front delt.
Rear delt and front delt. So you feel side delt?
Yeah.
Can I see side delt real quick? Take the 12s. Okay. Okay, so he actually has a good movement pattern on side delt. Okay, just do that again. I just want to show everyone real quick. Okay, so a checkpoint you want to keep in mind on your side delt. Stop right there if you could. Hold it up. Look strong for everyone. Core tight. Keep it engaged. Okay, 1, 2, 3. These are your checkpoints again, same aspect, core is engaged, you're not leaning back too much, you can relax down a second, okay? You wanna make sure when you come up that everything's level. You don't wanna get into the habit or the tendency of doing this because this is not gonna activate the side delt. And the reason for that is if we look at my shoulder right now, what's on top, guys? Front, side, or rear delt? Front, exactly. What's on top? Side. So this simple little movement pattern that sometimes we'll get into, you see a lot of guys when they're doing it, they're doing this, okay? So from an aspect of a secondary, yeah, you're hitting your shoulders, but you're not maximizing side delt, that's something to keep in mind. So you just make sure the arm is down, elbows turned over like you're pouring something, okay? and you're going to activate that side delt better. Now, you say you don't feel rear delts, okay? Feel them. So let me see how you do them. Is that too much weight?
I don't usually do that. I usually flies.
You usually do what? The pec deck upstairs? Okay. I'll show you the pec deck upstairs on your own, but fly, you know, understanding lateral movement is the same concept that applies. So grab those 5s for me. Okay. Now, understand first your position of where your hips are going to be and getting down like a football player, right? So you're going to be soft knee. You're going to hinge the hip over like this, okay? So this way our back is stable and we're not rounded over, okay? Now, get in that position. Good, a little lower. Good, okay. Now, I can tell you already, he's not feeling his rear delts. Why? Because, turn all the way for everyone, get down in that position. I'll tell you exactly why he's not feeling his rear delts. You see what he's doing, guys? Do that again. What is he doing? What's he activating? Traps. So it's going to be hard for him to feel his rear delts when he's immediately activating his traps. And I feel them right now. They're very tight. So loosen up. There you go. Stay nice and relaxed. Good. Okay. Now what I want you to do is drop a little bit more forward. Okay. So this right here, this is where connecting dots is going to be important. Think about this muscle right here and right here. And I want you to think away from the body. I need you to stay relaxed and loose as possible here. And I want you to just kind of pull the dumbbell as far out as you can. Again, relax. Stay loose. Okay. Drop it down. And I want you to think more away. Okay, now turn the elbow over, that a boy, and this is going to be on top. Do it again. Give me 10 total. Stay low. So his checkpoint is making sure his elbow is not back. He's making sure the elbow's turned over, okay, and he's leading out through the side. He's going away from the body. Lateral speaking, rear lateral raise is away from the body, okay? If he's coming up, he's not going to have that same connection. He needs to think away. Most importantly for him, he needs to relax his trap. His trap this is synergistic dominance. A trap is a very big muscle. So this guy's always going to want to come to the party. Hey, I'm here to help. Don't worry, I got you. No, no, no. Stay home. I don't want you here. Relax the trap. Go out, away. You feeling this? Now, do you feel it like for real? Like, are you feeling this muscle right here? Perfect. Relax. Good. Okay, so that same concept, you can put those down. That same concept applies to the machine upstairs, the reverse pec deck. Okay, her tendency was she was stretching too much from the front. The other thing that people have a tendency to do is get synergistic dominance, which is the trap, which is the bigger muscle, wants to work. So he basically just relaxed a little bit, okay, and then focuses on his movement pattern. Instead of going up, he was going out, okay? And when you did that, did you feel the rear delt? Perfect, okay. Guys, does that help you for rear delts? Okay, cool. What else you guys got? Anything else? Lower lats, okay. Okay, so looking at Derek, his tendency is gonna be, he has certain muscle groups that are absolutely stronger than others. So you're gonna have that synergistic dominance where the body always wants to take the path of least resistance. It always wants to make life easy, okay? So your traps are big, your upper back is big, and you're big up top, right? So the body basically says, Derek, I don't wanna work. I got this. So these guys are always going to want to take over. So number one, what you have to do is start making an effort to stretch a little bit more and relaxing this guy out, actually lengthening out your muscles a little bit, right? So if you do that, that will actually help kind of help you connect the dots a little bit better here. But the number one thing is going to be arm out, okay? Chest up, posture up. Step forward a little for me, please, and turn sideways, okay? And just give me a rowing motion, please. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this basically, if you guys see, he's pulling all here and everything's kind of working right here across. So what he simply needs to do is he needs to press scap down, okay, relax it down, bring the arm straight, okay. Now, before you do anything, okay, I need you to, I'm gonna pull, right, stagger your stance, Okay? Don't pull here, okay? Stay arm locked, and you're gonna go here to here, here to here. Do it again. Keep going. Attaboy, keep the arm straight. There you go, do it again. That's it, do it again. Okay, now we're gonna finish it, okay? Go all the way through. Chest up, posture up, relax, connect. Where my fingers are, pull, pull, pull. Now keep going. You see how you wanna go up? That's just you being tight. So you need to kind of make that effort to stretch, and then what you need, that's good. Now it's here. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
Okay, so it just simply comes down to, yes, the movement pattern, but your body says as you're in mid-set, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, those are the reps where your body's gonna say, I'm tired, I'm here to help, fuck the lower lat, I don't wanna get involved, and that's when you say, no, 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 reset. Okay, and you need to reset, relax, and then pull through. Okay, so your thing is going to be a trick I would do is there's a rest pause. Okay, and a rest pause is something that I do where instead of me, I kind of know what's going to happen at 8, 9, and 10. So instead of me doing a drop set, okay, I simply just take a break. I'll count out 10 seconds, and then I'll repeat the set and finish out the set, I should say, with those last 3 reps. And the reason why I do this is because what he's doing is reinforcing a bad habit, and I'm trying to break a bad habit. Okay, so he needs to break the bad habit. So when you start to feel yourself going off the wrong way, that's when you say, hold on. Now, if you're really tired, you rest pause. If you're able to just reset and then go through it. But did you feel that?
Yes.
And then that was no weight, just my hand and a little bit of resistance. Okay? All right, you're welcome. Anything else? You said glutes, right? But what do you mean by glutes? Like which exercise?
What exercise to actually feel the glute actually, like you say, contracting?
Okay, I'll tell you what. From what I
Extension or?
from what I see, at least from what I see when you're training, you know, one simple fix. It's not so much about the activation. What you need to start doing, and I know it sounds silly, but it will help immediately, is you start doing the girly exercises. Okay, you start doing some stabilization drills and just simple like donkey kicks. Okay, some simple fire hydrants, and it comes down to the reason why you're not feeling it on the majors. And this, he can tell you from experience. He has so much big muscle, okay, and the bigger muscles firing that his knees started getting jammed up and his glutes started getting jammed up and his lower back started getting jammed up because the big muscles were doing all the work for so long, and eventually they got tired and eventually he tweaked something. Now he goes through a routine with his girl, and biggest guy in the gym is doing the girly exercises, but how do you feel? Amazing. And he's firing up and connecting dots. So that would be essentially what I would say to do. And one of the things I don't see you doing, which is another really helpful thing that's really easy, buy yourself a band and do tube walking. Tube walking will help you connect as well, because the glute min and the glute med will get fired properly, and that will also help activate the glute max. Okay, so do that to get those muscle groups going, and that will help a lot. If none of that works, then you jump on the newbie for like one treatment just to kind of jumpstart the glutes and get them fired up, because that's what he did. You won't be able to go to the bathroom for a week or sit for a week, but you'll feel great after that. You know, so that's another tip. Anything else? You guys have any other exercises at all? Anything? No? Okay.
I think, I'm not really able to demonstrate. I still can't feel my arms from Wednesday, but what you showed me with the concentration curl.
Oh, okay, yeah. Just one last thing, guys. This is a cool tip. Yes, the concentration curl and understanding. This goes back to what I said, like peeling an onion and understanding. Like, you guys ever cut open an onion and see like there's layers? Okay, so what you need to think about when you're doing certain exercises on certain body parts, and this can be applied a lot of different ways. I do it a lot with flies, I do it a lot with concentration curls, is understanding that there's the muscle that you see, and then there's the muscle tissue underneath that you don't see. Okay, so when we do our curls, we're kind of just hitting that standard muscle on top and that roundness and that fullness on top. Now this is like kind of advanced type training where you really need to dig deep and learn to connect dots. But if you learn to connect to this layer of muscle tissue underneath the top portion of the bicep, and you learn to connect here, okay, and what you kind of do is you essentially pull underneath and think about pushing this together to push this up as opposed to coming out and around, okay? Now you're building up that muscle tissue underneath the top layer of the bicep, and that's gonna give it a fuller look. So when you're doing I like to do it with a concentration curl because it's really easy to not get the hips involved. You drop down, and I really think about underneath, and I stay neutral hand, and I think about the layer underneath the top portion of my bicep, and I kind of pull through that and connect that way. And that's gonna give that kind of pop to the bicep. It's also gonna help you with other areas as well. So something to keep in mind when you're doing it is learning to connect to different layers, different muscle fibers on the exercise, if that makes sense, okay? Does that sound good, guys? All right. There's no other questions. This was perfect timing. If you guys don't mind, if you're cool with it, I just would like to take a picture just to put on the gram if you guys are okay with it. If you're not, I understand. You can sit to the side. You guys okay with that?